she'd seen him even though we'd known he was alive for weeks. I wasn't prepared for seeing Jack in the flesh. His curly black hair longer than longer than when I'd last seen him in the halls. His darting hazel eyes, his hands clinging to the steering wheel. Real, alive. My heart kicked in my chest. Jack's eyes were on the road. As he tore out of the parking lot, I imagine he thought I wouldn't try to get away if the Bronco was moving, but he didn't have to worry. I was fixed in place by the unknown. Where was Sam? Yes, I mean the guy who was supposed to be sitting there. My voice came out a snarl. Where is he? Jack glanced over me. He was nervy, shaky. What was the word Sam had used to describe new wolves? Unstable. I'm not trying to be the bad guy here, Grace, but I need answers, and soon, or I'm going to get really bad fast. You're driving like an idiot. If you don't want to get pulled over by the cops, you better slow down. Where are we going? I don't know. You tell me. I want to know how to stop this, and I want to know now, because it's getting worse. I didn't know whether he meant it was getting worse as in the weather got colder or worse right this second. I'm not telling you anything until you take me to wherever Sam is. Jack didn't answer. I said, I'm not playing around. Where is he? Jack jerked his head toward me. I don't think you get it. I'm the one driving, and I'm the one who knows where he is, and I'm the one who can rip your head off if I change. So it seems to me you're the one who ought to stop pissing yourself and telling me what I want to know. His hands were clamped on the steering wheel, bracing arms that were shuddering. God, he was going to change soon. I had to think of something to get him off the road. What do you want to know? How to stop it? I know you know the cure. I know you are bitten. Jack, I don't know how to stop it. I can't cure you. Yeah, I thought you'd say that. That's why I bit your stupid friend, because if you won't fight to cure me, I know you'll do it for her. I just had to make sure she was really going to change. The staggering sense of it stole my breath. I could barely get my voice out. You bit Olivia. Are you an idiot? Are you an idiot? I just said that. So now you better start talking, because I'm going to. Jack's neck jerked, wrenching awkwardly. My wolf senses screamed of danger, fear, terror, anger, at me. Emotions rolling off of him in waves. I reached out and spun the heating towel up. I didn't know how much of a difference it would make, but it couldn't hurt. It's the cold. The cold changes you to a wolf, and the heat stops it. I was talking quickly, trying to keep him from getting a word in, trying to keep him from getting any angrier. It's worse when you first get bitten. You can change back and forth all the time, but it gets more stable. You get to be human for longer. You'll get the whole summer. Jack's arms spasmed again, and the car fishtailed in the gravel of the shoulder before driving back onto the road. You can't be driving right now, please. I'm not going to run away or whatever. I want to help you, really, I do. But you've got to I did, I saw a dull white rectangle in front of me. The crack of the door, without any other shapes but to gauge by. I couldn't tell if it was desperately close or horribly far. Smells crowded around me, dusty, organic, chemical. My breath was loud in my ears, so wherever I had, it had to be small. A tool shed, a crawl space. Crap, it was cold. Not cold enough for me to change, not yet, but it would be soon. I was lying down. Why was I lying down? I staggered my feet and bit my lip hard to keep from gasping aloud. There was something wrong with my ankle. I tried it again, carefully, a fragile fawn on new legs, and it gave underneath me. I crashed sideways, arms wheeling, feeling for some kind of support. My palms raked across a legion of spiked instruments of torture hung on the walls. I had no idea what they were, cold, metallic, dirty. For a moment I stayed on all fours, listening to my breathing, feeling blood well on my palms, and thinking about giving up. I was so tired of fighting, it felt like I'd been fighting for weeks. Finally, I pulled myself back up and limped to the door, arms stretched out in front of me to protect my unarmored body from more surprises. Icy air seeped in through the crack in the door, trickled into my body like water. I reached for a handle, but there was nothing but ragged wood. A splinter stuck into my fingers, and I swore very quietly. Then I leaned my shoulder into the door and pushed, thinking, please open, if there's any justice in this world. Nothing. Chapter 50, Grace, 39 degrees. I picked up my backpack. This is it. It seemed stupid somehow for Beck's house to look exactly the same as when Sam had brought me here to walk me to the Golden Wood because of the circumstances. Because the circumstances were so wildly different, but it did. The only difference was Beck's hulking SUV in the driveway. Jack was already pulling to the side of the road. He took out the keys of the ignition and looked me in the eyes and looked at me, eyes weary. Get out after I do. I did, as he said, waiting for him to come around and pull the door open. I slid out of the seat and grabbed my arm tightly. His shoulders were thrust too far together and his mouth hung slightly open. I don't think he even noticed. I guess I should have worried about him attacking me, but all I could think was, he's going to change and we won't know where Sam is until it's too late. I prayed Sam was somewhere warm, somewhere out of the winter's reach. Hurry up, I said, tugging my arm against Jack's grip, almost jogging toward the front door. We don't have any time. Jack tried the front door. It was unlocked as promised, and he shoved me in first before slamming the door behind us. My nose caught a brief hint of rosemary in the air. Someone had been cooking, and for some reason I remembered Sam's antidote about cooking the steaks for Beck. And then I heard a shout and snarl from behind me. Both sounds came from Jack. This wasn't the silent struggle of Sam trying to stay human that I'd seen before. This was violent, angry, loud. Jack's lips tore into a snarl, and then his face ripped into a muzzle, his skin changing color in an instant. He reached for me as if to hit me, but his hands buckled into Paul's nails hard and dark. His skin bulged and shimmering from the moment before each radical change, like a placenta covering a terrified feral infant. I stared at the shirt that hung around the wolf's midsection. I couldn't look away. It was the only detail that could convince my mind that this animal really had just been Jack. This Jack was as angry as he had been in the car, but now his anger had no direction, no human control. His lips pulled back from his teeth and formed a snarl, but no sound appeared to stand back. A man tore in the hall, surprisingly agile given his height, and ran directly at Jack. Jack, off guard, crouched down defensively, and the man landed on the wolf with all his weight. Get down, snarled the man, and I flinched before I realized that he was talking to the wolf. Stay down. This is my house. You are nothing here. He had a hand around Jack's muscle and was shouting right into his face. Jack whistled through his clenched jaw, and Beck forced his head to the ground. Beck's eyes flitted up at me, and though he was holding a huge wolf to the ground in one hand, he perfectly said, his voice was perfectly level. Grace, can you help? I'd been standing perfectly still, watching. Yes, grab the edge of the rug he's sitting on. We're going to drag him to the bathroom. I know where it is. Good, let's go. I'll try to help you, but I'll have to keep my weight on him. The square set of his shoulders, the square set of his jawline, the square line of eyebrows, everything about him looked safe, honest, secure. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe that nothing bad could happen because Beck wasn't panicking. There was a crackle at the other end of the line. Sam, Beck leaned close. The voice was badly broken up. You, it's Beck, where are you? Jack, Grace, Jack, oh. The only thing I couldn't understand was his distress. I wanted to be there, wherever he was. Grace is here, Beck said. It's under control. Where are you? Are you safe? Cold. The one word came terribly clear. I pushed up from the island, standing still. Didn't seem to be an opinion. Beck's voice was still even. You aren't coming through very well. Well, try again. Tell me where you are, clearly as you can. Tell Grace. Call. I. Bell. In shed. Somewhere. I heard a go. I came back to the counter, leaned over the island. You want me to call Isabel? You're in the shed on their property. She's where? Yes. Sam's voice was empathetic. Grace, what? Love you. Don't say that. I said we're getting you out. Hurry. He hung up. Beck's eyes flicked to me, and I could see all the concern that his voice didn't reveal. Who's Isabel? Jack's sister. It seemed to take too long to pull off my backpack and get my cell phone out of my pocket. Sam must be trapped somewhere on the property in a shed or something. If I get Isabel on the phone, maybe she can find him. If not, I'm going now. Paul looked at the window at the dying sun, and I knew he was thinking that I didn't have enough time to get to the Culpeppers before the temperature dropped. No point thinking about that. I found Isabel's number from when she'd called me before, and it said, it rang twice. Yeah, Isabel, it's Grace. I'm not an idiot. I saw your number. I wanted to reach out through the phone and strangle her. Isabel, Jack's locked up. Sam, somewhere near your house. I cut off the beginning of her question. I don't know why, but Sam's going to change if it gets much colder. And wherever he is, he's trapped. Please tell me you're at your house. Yeah, I just got here. I'm in the house. I didn't hear any commotion or anything. Do you have a shed or something? Isabel made an irritated noise. We have 6 outbuildings. He has to be in one of them. He called from inside a shed. If the sun gets down behind the trees, it's going to get cold in like 2 seconds. I get it. Snapped Isabel. There was rustling sounds. I'm getting my coat on. I'm going outside. Can you hear me? Now I'm outside. I'm freezing my ass off for you. I'm walking across the yard. I'm walking across the part of the grass where my dog used to be on before my dad and brother ate her. Paul smiled faintly. Can you hurry up? I demanded. I'm jogging to the first shed. I'm calling his name. Sam, are you in there? I don't hear anything. If he's turned into the wolf in one of these sheds and I let him out and he rips my face off, I'm having my family sue you. I heard a dim faint crack. Hell, this door is stuck. Another crack. Sam, wolf boy, you in here? Nothing in the lawnmower shed. Where is Jack anyway? If he did this, here, he's fine for now. Do you hear anything? I doubt he's really fine. He's really screwed up, Grace. In his head, I mean. And no, I did tell you if I had heard something. I'm going to the next one. Paul rested the back of his head on the glass of the window over the sinking wind. Steve was right. It was getting too cold. Call Sam back. I begged Beck. Tell him to shout so she can hear him. Beck picked up the phone, punched a button, and held it to his ears. Isabel sounded a little out of breath. I'm at the next one. Sam, you hear? Dude, there was nearly an audible squeak at the door. I paused. Unless he turned into a bicycle or something, he's not here. How many more of them are there? I wanted to be there at the Culpeppers instead of Isabel. I'd be faster than she was. I'd be screaming my lungs out to find him. I told you 4 more. Only 2 more are close. The others are way out in the field behind the house. They're barns. He has to be in one of the close ones. He said it was a shed. I looked back at Beck, who put the phone up to his ears. He looked back at me, shook his head. No answer. Sam, why aren't you picking up? I'm at the garden shed, Sam. Sam, it's Isabel. If you're a wolf in there, don't rip my face off. I could hear her breathing in the phone. The door's stuck like the other one. I'm kicking it in with my most expensive shoe, and it's pissing me off. Beck slammed his phone down on the counter and turned away from Paul and me. He leaned his arms behind his head. The motion was so Sam that it pierced me. I've got it open. It stinks. There's crap everywhere. There's nothing. Oh, she broke off, and her breathing came through the phone, heavier than before. What? What is it? Wait a sec, shut up. I'm taking my coat off. He's here. Okay, Sam, look at me. Sam, I said, look at me. You bastard, you're not turning into a wolf right now. Don't you dare do this to her. I sank slowly down beside the counter, cupping the phone against my head. Paul's face didn't change. He just watched me, still quiet, dark wolf. I heard a smack kitchen. An uneaten sandwich sat abandoned on the counter. Isabel said, "He's in the living room next to the fire. He just stopped throwing up before he got there. He puked all over the carpet, but that's okay. I like having my parents pissed at me. No point interrupting a constant pattern." "Thank you," I said, more intensely grateful than the praise conveyed. I followed the smell of smoke to the living room. Luckily for Isabel and her non-existent fire-building skills, the ceiling was very high, and most of the smoke had drifted upwards. Sam was curved, bundled next to the earth. A fleece blanket wrapped around his shoulders, an untouched mug of something sat beside him, still steaming. I rushed over, flinching at the heat of fire, and stopped short when I smelled him. Sharp, earthly, wild. A painfully familiar smell that I loved so well, but didn't want to smell right now. The face he turned to me was human, though I crouched beside him and kissed him. He took me carefully as if either I or he might break, and closed his arms around me, laying his head on my shoulder. I felt him shiver intermittently. Despite the smell of smoky fire, that was nonetheless hot enough to burn my shoulder nearest to it. I wanted him to say something. This deadly quiet scared me. I pulled away from him and ran my hands through his hair for a long minute before I said what I needed to say. "You aren't okay, aren't you?" "It's like a roller coaster," Sam said slightly. "I climb and climb and climb toward winter, and as long as I don't get to the very top, I can still slide back." I looked away into the fire, watching the very center of it, the very hottest part, until the colors of the light lost meaning, burning my vision to dancing white lights. "And now you're at the very top." "I think I might be. I hope not, but God, I feel like hell." He took my hand with frigid fingers. I couldn't stand the lost silence. Beck wanted to come. He couldn't leave the house. Sam swallowed loud enough for me to hear it. I wonder if he was feeling sick again. I won't see him again. This is last year. I thought I was right to be angry at him, but it just seems stupid now. I just can't wrap my head around it. I didn't know if he meant wrapping his head around whatever made him angry with Beck or the roller coaster he was riding. I just kept staring at the fire, so hot, a little tiny summer, self-contained and furious. If only I could get that inside Sam and keep him warm forever. I was aware that Isabel was standing in the doorway of the room, but she seemed far away. I keep thinking about why I didn't change. I said slowly, if I was born immune or something, but I wasn't, because I got that flu, and because I'm still not really normal. I can smell better, I can hear better. I paused trying to collect my thoughts, and I think it was my dad. I think it was when he left me in the car. It got so hot the doctor said I should have died, remember, but I didn't. I lived, and I didn't turn into a wolf. Sam looked at me, his eyes sad. "You're probably right, but see, it could be a cure, couldn't it? Get you really hot." Sam shook his head. He was very pale. "I don't think so, Angel." Oh. How hot was the bathwater you had me in? And Ulrich, he was trying to go to Texas that year. It's 103 and 104 degrees out there. He's still a wolf. Is that what cured you? It's because you were little and because you had a crazy high fever that burned you from the inside out. "You could induce a fever," I said suddenly, but as soon as I said it, I shook my head. "But I don't think there's a medication to raise your temperature." "It is possible," Isabel said from the door. I looked at her. She was leaning against the door frame, arms crossed over her chest, the sleeves of her sweater filthy from whatever she had to do to get Sam out of the shed. "My mom works in low-income clinic 2 days a week, and I heard her talking about a guy who had a fever 107. He had meningitis. What happened to him?" I asked. Sam dropped my hand, turned his face away. "He died," Isabel shrugged. "But maybe a werewolf would, and maybe that's why you didn't die as a kid, because you were bitten right before your idiot dad left you in the car to cook." Beside me, Sam scrambled to his feet and started coughing. "Not on the freaking rug," Isabel said. I jumped up as Sam braced his hands on his knees and retched without throwing anything up. He turned around to me, shaky, and saw something in his eyes that made my stomach drop out from under me. The room stank of wolf from Disney. For a moment it was me and Sam, and my face buried in his rough 1,000 miles from here. Sam squeezed his eyes shut for a second. When he opened it, he said, "Sorry, Grace. I know this is an awful thing